Everything looks the same these days, and I want to talk about it, okay? Have you noticed almost every brand that has popped up in the last few years has a lot of similar themes, okay? The packaging is colorful, but also kind of minimal. Not only is the packaging similar, the products and the offerings are pretty similar, to the point where sometimes I even get them mixed up. Like, I think of so many of these brands as like the same thing in a slightly different font, and I want to talk about that today while we apply a full face of all of these brands that kind of live interchangeably in my head. Starting off with the B-Goldi from Drunk Elephant. These aren't necessarily my favorite, but I did feel like they fit into the theme today, so I'm mostly just gonna target these onto like the high points of my cheeks. I'm not gonna apply a ton of this product. But the segment where I really think this concept is growing is in clean beauty. And I have decided to kind of categorize this or just describe this theme as colorful minimalism, okay? We've got a lot of pastel tones, and the packaging is also a bit more minimal. You know, we see a lot of like clear plastic packaging, and it's minimal in that sense, but it's also pretty colorful. You know, we're seeing like blues and purples. I'm going to take a little bit of the Saie Slip Tint, which isn't necessarily my favorite product, but I do feel like it fits in with the theme of this video. So I like to apply this with my fingertips, and then sometimes I'll tap over it with like a brush or a sponge. I find with this product in particular, if you try to go in right away with like a brush or a sponge, I don't like the blend as much. I really think your fingers are best suited to this product. I'm gonna add a little more. Now, they describe this as a tinted sunscreen. I would not rely on this to be your only form of sun protection, because by the time you have applied enough of this to get sun protection, it is going to look cakey. Like, this is kind of a thick product, so I just think of it as like a little bonus sunscreen, you know, layer number 2, if you will. But we've really seen this colorful minimalism start to explode in clean beauty specifically, which first of all is a little bit surprising to me, because I would almost envision a lot of these clean beauty brands going the route of like Ilia, for example, which is also clean beauty, but they don't necessarily fit into this category in my eyes, because theirs is a bit more like traditionally minimal, whereas so many of these new super hyped up, buzzed about brands have gone this kind of more unique, colorful route, which got me asking myself, like, who was the first brand to really do this? Going in with a little bit of the Tower 28 concealer. This is their newer one. I feel like Tower 28 as a brand is like the perfect example of this. But I wanted to look at a timeline here, because I feel like so many of these brands seem to have popped up overnight. So the first brand that I picture when I think of this style of packaging and product is Kosas. And Kosas was actually founded in 2014, but if you remember, in the beginning, their packaging looked completely different than it does now, and they went through a little bit of a rebrand. So in the beginning, their products were super minimal, but also very simple, like mostly just like black outer packaging. And their first couple of launches looked like that, but then everything that came afterwards started becoming super colorful. You know, we've got like the yellow packaging, the purple packaging, the pink, the orange. Okay, we'll go in with a little bit of the Saie cream bronzer. I have mine in the shade light bronze. But after Kosas, all of these other brands started launching around 2019. So in 2019, we got Tower 28, Saie, and In Beauty Project. In 2020, we got Caliray. And then another brand that I think of as similar but not fully fitting the description of colorful minimalism is Merit. But I wanted to include them in this discussion because I feel like they have similar vibes to the other brands. And Merit was founded in 2021, which is nuts. Like, that was so recently. So those were makeup brands, but I also wanted to look at skincare brands, because I think a lot of skincare brands are starting to fit into this theming as well. And another one, a perfect example, once again, clean beauty, we have Drunk Elephant. Drunk Elephant is so pastel and colorful. They were founded in 2021. And I also wanted to include Summer Fridays, because with both brands, Drunk Elephant and Summer Fridays, yes, they were started as skincare brands, but they're kind of starting to dive into makeup a bit as well. And Summer Fridays was started in 2018. So if you'll notice, Most of these really started around 2018, 2019. And it has me wondering why. And it's kind of an interesting evolution we've watched in beauty packaging, because prior to this huge rise in colorful minimalism, which I have coined this term, we really didn't see colorful products at a high-end price point. Like, colorful makeup packaging was pretty much reserved for the drugstore prior to this, with exceptions. The one color that we really allowed high-end brands to use was pink. It's always been pink. Pink has always been fine, but the other shades, like if you think of orange packaging or like green packaging, you're probably thinking of the drugstore. So it's really interesting to observe that a lot of these clean beauty brands have chosen these brighter colors as part of their theming. And it's almost to the point that now there is an association for the consumer. When you see packaging that is really pastel and colorful like this, there's the mental connection there to clean beauty. And I don't want to say it's in the same vein as greenwashing, because it's not necessarily an intentional act, or maybe it is. But I think it kind of fits into this larger picture that people see pastel packaging and think, oh, that's probably high quality, it's probably clean beauty. Not only does the packaging look so similar from all of these brands, the products do as well. Like, few of them are focused on powder products. Most of them have cream products, or both, but I feel like if they have both, they're better known for their cream products. And that, like, to an extent makes complete sense to me, because cream products have just been more popular these last few years. Okay, wait, I haven't used this bronzer in a while, and I don't even normally love it so much. Like, it's good, but I don't like it as much as my Merit or my Makeup Revolution, but it's looking really nice right now. Maybe it's because I paired it with their foundation. Like, these are just going really well together, though I look very, very dewy right now. Like, too much for my taste, but don't worry, we will go in with powder. But let's move on to some blush right now. This is from Tower 28. So I just tried one of their blushes in one of my last few videos. It was a brighter pink one, but they just sent Magic Hour, and I was like, okay, let me try this, because the bright pink one, you saw me say in the video, wasn't really for me. But this one I think could be right up my alley, so I'm gonna try this. Ooh, okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, this is pretty. I'm gonna start blending it out with my finger and then maybe switch over to a tool. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure yet. But prior to this colorful minimalism, and don't take a shot every time I say my little made up term, but what was really trendy for the last, let's say we flash back to a decade ago, the type of packaging that was a lot more in style at that time was sleek, minimal, like black. I'm picturing MAC, which, don't get me wrong, they've been around since the 80s, but I think of that packaging really having a lot of popularity and so many other makeup brands attempting to emulate that. I'm picturing even NYX. NARS, again, similar concept where it's like the sleek black packaging. And funny enough, like this type of open face, I guess that's not the right word, but like clear see-through packaging that's like fully plastic. I think a decade ago, people would have looked at this and thought that looks so cheap, it looks so drugstore, but there has been this flip. And now like this is a very almost luxurious, well, not luxurious, that's a stretch, but it feels more high-end. It feels aesthetic, it feels cute. I know this looks weird right now, guys, don't worry, we're gonna get there. But it's really interesting what consumers like now versus what we used to prefer. And I mentioned this in another video with like, let's talk the squeeze tube lip balms for a second, okay? We have to talk about these. These have exploded in popularity in the last few years, and I'm not even necessarily just referring to like this one from Summer Fridays. I'm talking about all of them, especially like the Rhode Beauty ones. Like we're seeing these everywhere. But funny enough, I remember like brands had this type of squeeze up packaging years ago, and it was almost like looked down upon, like, oh, not the cheap packaging, like, oh, you can't put a doe foot on that. But now there's been this shift and people want packaging that looks like that. Like that is the ideal way to package a lip treatment these days. Okay, this looks nice and glowy and super dewy, but like way too much, according to me. So we're gonna take the Kosas powder, one of the best powders to ever exist. This is the Cloud Set powder. I have mine in the shade Breezy, and this brush is the BK109, and I'm going to like push this in because I want to not only set that down, but really take a lot of that shine away, especially in here. Like, I want the shine from here out and like here, like around the perimeter, if you will. But the middle of my face, we have to take care of this. And don't get me wrong, I don't think every brand is leaning into this style. And I think of something like Fenty or even Rare. Like, I think some of those other Sephora brands have maybe elements of this, but I don't think they lean into it as much. But I also don't think they lean into like clean beauty being as much of their identity as these brands do. Okay, I'm gonna use the Kosas Air Brow, though to be honest, I really don't like this product. And I wanna reiterate, I don't think that this is a bad thing. I think it's simply an observation in the shift in trends. Because not only do we see trends in makeup application and in products, but we do in packaging also. And like, it's actually so interesting to look. Like, I have these two right next to each other sitting on my table. It's the Saie and the Caliray. And even like the logos share a really similar font. I mean, they're not identical, but they're both all lowercase, bubble letter, like similar silhouette in the font. Okay, wait, for eyes were a little bit tough because so few of these brands really do eyeshadow. Kosas has liquid eyeshadows, but they're horrible, so I wasn't gonna use that. But I figured let's use Merit. Though again, I don't think of Merit as much in this category, but we'll go ahead and include this. So this is their new eyeshadow formula. I have the shade Studio. So you definitely can apply this with your fingers, but I prefer a brush. These have been so polarizing, but I like them, but I can also see why there wouldn't be an audience for them. I will leave the speed reviews linked down below where I shared my full, super thorough review on these and like who I think they're good for, who I think they're not, because again, they're pretty polarizing, but I will leave that link down below. Also, oh my gosh, even after powdering, I'm still so shiny. I feel like this type of look that a lot of these brands specialize in is just not for me. Like, it's weird. I like all of their products individually, or like most of them, but the overall look of this like fully cream product face is not for me. And if anything, I think I was more into a super hyper dewy look like this in my early 20s. I am about to turn 30 in less than 2 weeks. And one place that I'm really starting to see the difference is like this region right here, and having so much glow from products right around my nose and my smile lines. It is just not doing me any favors. And I've said it before, this is my hot take, my unpopular opinion. Everyone loves to say that cream products look more youthful, and I think to an extent they can, but I don't think that rule is like one size fits all. I don't think it holds true across the board. What I think tends to be the most flattering is like a satin matte, because the matte element of it has a lot of like just smoothing properties to it. Like in general, a matte finish will look smoother than a cream finish, because cream finish really allows like any lines or pores to be a bit more visible. You just don't want it too matte, not like a powdery flat. Like a satin matte, according to me, is the most flattering. Okay, for mascara, I wanted to use the Tower 28 because that one is newer to me and I'm loving it. But I've already used some Tower 28 products, so I'm like, let's use Caliray, because this is another brand that I think is like the perfect example of this. Look at this, it's like ombre from blue to purple. Funny enough, Caliray was actually started by the founder of Urban Decay. So Wendy, who created Urban Decay, started Caliray just a couple years ago. That's another thing that's interesting, and maybe I should do a whole separate video about that. A lot of the big like legacy brands, the original founders have now gone on to start new makeup brands. Like this was the brand from the founder of Urban Decay. We know Jones Road was the brand started by Bobbi Brown. The founders of Too Faced are now starting some makeup brands. That's definitely another common theme. But I actually did a video a couple months back talking about the role that packaging plays in the hype of a product. So I can leave that one linked down below. but I was talking about a lot of products that seem to be so buzzed about and viral here on the internet, and a lot of them really fit into this colorful minimalism color scheme, and it's just so fascinating to watch the role that packaging really plays for consumers, because maybe a decade ago, performance was really key. And now I think it's almost this intersection of it has to not only perform well, but be cute. And I don't know why that is, but there's a part of me that wants to guess that it's because products just are better now than they used to be. Like, especially even as someone who's been reviewing makeup on the internet for, I think, 7 years now, when I started my channel, there was a lot more variance between what is a good product and what is a bad product. But these days, most new launches are good. And so it's more of a game of like, what's great? And I think something that brands are really leaning into to stand out when a lot of products are already good quality, but also the market is super saturated, is cute packaging. I'm gonna try this from Tower 28. I'm kind of intrigued by this. This is the one liner. This is in the shade Fill Me In. So they say this is a multi-use product that could be used anywhere on your face. Like, you could also use this as blush if you wanted to. They also have a brown one that could be an eyeliner or a lip liner. So I'm gonna try it on my lips today. I like that color. It's definitely like a Your Lips But Better type of tone. But now I'm going to go in with the Summer Fridays Lip Butter Balm. This is the pink sugar one. I really, really like these. They're super hydrating. I have to go in with a little more powder. I think what's the problem here is that the Kosas powder already is a very lightweight powder that is still relatively glowy. Like, it lets a lot of glow shine through. So I think for how much shine I'm trying to cut down on, I would probably be better off with maybe like a loose powder or at least something a little bit more heavy duty. But I do like this look. It turned out exactly like I was expecting it to. Like, this is the type of look I visualize with any of these brands, because they all kind of specialize in, of course, this look. You know, it's cream, it's minimal, there's like nothing going on the eyes. Everything is kind of sheer, kind of glowy, minimal coverage, and I like it. I'm really curious to read the comments on today's video. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Let me know your thoughts on this colorful minimalism trend we've been seeing lately. And what direction do you think we'll see next in terms of popularity with packaging? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will go ahead and see you in my next video. Bye.